In the sweltering summer of 1878, a typhoid outbreak swept through Willow Creek, Kansas, claiming 47 lives. Amid this tragedy, for brothers Ezra, Caleb, Josiah, and Abel Blackwood emerged unscathed, their immunity a medical anomaly. Yet their survival bore a horrifying cost, one that led 3 physicians to refuse to record their findings and prompted the Kansas State Medical Board to seal all related records. What began as a seeming miracle twisted into something far darker, a transformation so grotesque that the local Presbyterian church erased all traces of the Blackwood family from its annals. The brothers exhibited symptoms no medical text could explain, growing more alien with each passing day. By autumn, townsfolk whispered that their shadows no longer fell naturally. Their voices carried an eerie resonance that caused listeners' ears to ache, and their eyes gleamed like those of creatures stalking the night. A classified medical report, still locked away, reportedly described the brothers as having surpassed human biological boundaries before all documentation was buried. Tonight, we unravel the chilling mystery of why modern science still shuns the events on that remote farm and why the truth about the Blackwood brothers remains more terrifying than any myth. Let's journey back to 1878, to a time when faith and fear intertwined on the Kansas plains. Willow Creek was a speck of a town, home to barely 300 souls scattered across endless fields of sorghum and grazing lands. It was a place where neighbors knew each other's secrets, a handshake sealed the deal, and Sunday services at the Presbyterian church doubled as spiritual and social anchors. The brutal winters brought blizzards that could swallow homesteads whole, while summers scorched crops and days, forging a resilient, devout community that saw hardship as God's trial and bounty as his reward. The landscape reinforced this worldview. Rolling plains of amber grain stretched to the horizon, interrupted only by scattered farmhouses, windmills, or clusters of sycamore trees along dry creek beds. The sky loomed vast and ever-shifting, its storms lighting the grasslands in fleeting, electric bursts that underscored each farm's isolation. In winter, the wind wailed with a voice that seemed almost alive, carrying snow that could freeze a man solid if he strayed too far from home. The Blackwood brothers arrived in Willow Creek in the spring of 1872, staking claim to 600 acres of fertile land with funds from their late father's estate in Warren County, Ohio. They sold all they owned, packed 2 wagons, and trekked west with the zeal of men answering a sacred call. Ezra, the eldest at 36, carried the quiet authority of a born leader. Tall and broad from years of toil, his calloused hands could calm a skittish horse or steer a plow with ease. His gray-green eyes, sharp as frost, seemed to pierce through to a person's core, leaving them feeling exposed yet respected. Caleb, 34, was the family's pragmatist, a man of numbers who tracked grain yields, livestock prices, and weather patterns with uncanny precision. His ledgers, written in crisp, meticulous script, captured every cent and bushel. But his faith burned as fiercely as his brothers, seeing divine order in the symmetry of a field or the rhythm of rain. Josiah, 31, was the scholar, having studied theology, medicine, and philosophy for 2 years at Oberlin College before their father's death called him home. His library of 200 books, hauled to Kansas in a reinforced crate, spanned scripture to anatomy, his room a maze of texts and notes. Abel, the youngest at 25, radiated a fervor that sometimes unnerved even his devout siblings. His faith was raw and emotional, marked by hours of tearful prayer and fasting that he claimed sustained him more than food. Some in Ohio had called him divinely touched, others whispered of obsession. Unlike their neighbors, who gathered at the town's modest clapboard church with its simple steeple, the Blackwoods built their own sanctuary on a rise overlooking their land. Crafted over their first year in Kansas, it was made of quarried sandstone and cedar timbers from a nearby grove. The chapel, 35 by 25 feet, was a testament to their austere faith, with hand-hewn pine pews and an altar etched with Greek verses from Josiah's studies. Tall windows caught the dawn and dusk, bathing the space in amber light during their prayers. The brothers held private services, following a strict interpretation of Methodist teachings that prized personal revelation and direct communion with God. Their days blended labor and devotion, rising at 4 a.m. for silent prayer, working fields until noon, tending livestock in the afternoon, and reserving evenings for scripture and discussion late into the night. Their farmhouse, a solid two-story built in their second year, reflected their Spartan lives, its walls adorned with carved scripture plaques and shelves of well-thumbed Bibles. By 1878, the Blackwood farm thrived, its sorghum fields lush, cattle robust, and silos brimming. The brothers had realized their dream of prosperity and spiritual freedom, earning the town's respect for their honesty and hard work, though their intensity and aloofness unsettled many. They kept to themselves, appearing in Willow Creek every 2 weeks for supplies, moving with purpose and speaking sparingly. Their matching chestnut beards, neatly trimmed, gave them a prophetic air that drew children's stares. The typhoid outbreak struck on July 12, 1878, with ruthless speed. Elizabeth Carver, who ran the general store with her husband, Daniel, was vibrant at dawn but feverish by noon, her skin marked with rose-colored spots. Dr. Elias Morrow, the county sole physician, arrived to find her delirious, her fever spiking beyond his thermometer's range. Despite his efforts, she died before midnight, her body stiffening unnaturally fast, her skin waxy, her eyes refusing to stay closed. Within a day, 3 more fell ill, all linked to the town's well, which Dr. Morrow found tainted by runoff. The victims, old Wilhelm Kruger, a Dutch farmer, and the 16-year-old Baxter twins, Clara and Cora, followed the same rapid decline, dying within hours. Their final moments were marked by strange utterances. Wilhelm spoke in an unknown tongue, while the twins recited eerie, synchronized prayers in a Latin-like language. By August 1st, 14 had perished, their symptoms defying medical logic. Fevers too high to survive, delirium resembling possession, and deaths within a day. Willow Creek descended into fear. Families barricaded their homes, the store became a place of hushed dread, and the church stood empty. Dr. Morrow sealed the well and urged boiling water, but the disease spread unpredictably, sparing some households while obliterating others. The Blackwoods, isolated on their farm, initially stayed clear of the crisis. But on August 9th, Josiah, claiming a divine vision, declared the epidemic a test of their faith. On August 10th, he rode to town, offering aid to Dr. Morrow and secretly aiming to confront the disease as a spiritual trial. At the home of blacksmith John Mercer, whose son, Samuel, lay racked with fever, Josiah knelt, placed his hands on the boy's burning brow, and prayed not for healing, but for the suffering to pass to himself and his brothers. As he spoke, Samuel's convulsions eased, his fever broke, and he asked for food. Witnesses called it a miracle, but Josiah's own skin flushed, and his eyes flickered with golden specks, as if the disease had leapt to him. Over 2 days, Josiah visited every afflicted home, repeating his ritual. Each time, the sick recovered instantly, but Josiah's condition worsened, his symptoms unlike any known disease. By August 12th, back at the farm, he burned with fever, yet spoke of divine purification. Soon, all 4 brothers exhibited the same unearthly symptoms. Dr. Morrow's visit on August 17th revealed changes that shattered his medical understanding. Ezra's skin was nearly transparent, revealing golden, pulsing veins. His voice resonated with a harmonic depth that vibrated in Morrow's chest. Caleb's rose-colored spots formed intricate, shifting patterns like equations on his skin. Josiah's body resembled living parchment, covered in moving scripts of Latin, Greek, and unknown symbols, his voice emanating from the air itself. Abel glowed with a soft blue-white light, his eyes like twin stars, claiming to draw energy from unseen sources. The brothers insisted their condition was a divine gift, but Morrow suspected a toxin, perhaps from their well or grain. The town split between those who saw miracles and those who feared the unnatural. Neighbors reported the brothers standing motionless in their fields, faces skyward, or singing haunting harmonies from their chapel. By September, the epidemic faded, but the Blackwoods' transformation deepened. Ezra's temperature held at 106.5 degrees Fahrenheit without harm. Caleb's blood, thick and golden, moved with purpose. Josiah's speech disoriented listeners, and Abel sensed distant events with uncanny precision. Their synchronized movements and diminished need for food or sleep suggested they were no longer fully human. Tensions peaked when Sarah Mercer, John's 7-year-old daughter, vanished and was found in the Blackwoods chapel, her eyes flecked with gold, speaking with unnatural wisdom. Her parents, horrified, demanded action. Dr. Morrow alerted the Kansas State Medical Board, whose examiner, Dr. Henry Caldwell, spent 3 days at the farm. His sealed report, later hinted at in private letters, described the brothers as existing in a state neither alive nor dead. On October 22nd, Mayor Edward Langley called a town meeting where Dr. Morrow admitted the brothers' condition defied medicine. A committee, Langley, Reverend Paul Whitaker, John Mercer, and Morrow, was formed to demand the brothers revert or leave. On November 1st, the delegation arrived at the farm, finding fields unnaturally green and cattle grazing in geometric patterns. The chapel pulsed with faint light, and Sarah Mercer greeted them, her voice harmonic, her eyes golden. Inside, the brothers, arranged in a perfect square, were translucent, their eyes liquid gold. They explained their transformation was irreversible, a step toward divine potential. Sarah, speaking with eerie clarity, dismissed human judgments of good or evil. The brothers demonstrated a consciousness bridge, letting the delegation glimpse their expanded awareness, thoughts of the town, distant events, and the unity of existence. The experience overwhelmed Morrow, revealing truths too vast for human minds. Morrow's secret blood analysis showed cells with multiple nuclei, moving with intent, as if their blood was a conscious entity. The brothers admitted their transformation began with Josiah's ritual, rooted in ancient texts about surrendering humanity for divine union. They spoke of a hidden network of transformed beings preparing humanity for a cosmic shift. Morrow offered transcendence, fled in terror. He destroyed his notes, burned his journals, and left for Oregon, never speaking of the case again. By December, the brothers withdrew completely. On December 12th, John Mercer found Ezra's body in the chapel, his flesh crumbling like ancient paper. Caleb was found in the fields, surrounded by towering sorghum. Josiah at his desk, pen in hand. Abel in the barn, still faintly glowing. The church buried them quietly, with no autopsies. The farm was abandoned, the chapel left to decay. Yet travelers reported lights on the hill and ghostly harmonies. The sealed medical report remains classified, the official story blaming typhoid complications. In 1925, a developer abandoned plans for the site after workers reported dread and visions. The land became a restricted preserve, its secrets guarded by silence. The Blackwood brothers' quest for divine communion led them beyond humanity, to a state neither science nor faith can fully grasp. Their story warns of the perils of seeking knowledge beyond our reach, a reminder that some thresholds, once crossed, change us forever. Subscribe to Past Unveiled to get more videos like this.